What's up, guys? My name is Noah. This is the Gun Road Garage, and in today's episode, we'll be prepping the front fenders for Pour 15 and Pour 15 in them, as well as I just got some new fender liners for the Jeep, so we're gonna kind of get those fitted up, and should be exciting. So let's get started. Alright, so we got these fenders just about ready to go for, we're going to do Pour 15 on them. So because I don't have a sandblaster, I really had to just try to wire wheel as best as I could. Really in here, it's just so hard to get to. So kind of got it as best as I could. I used some of this rust mort all over these just so could kind of convert some of it hopefully, and then we're just going to do 2 layers of Pour 15 on it, and then Bedliner. I don't really think I'll ever see rust again. Not that it'll necessarily be gone, but I just don't really think it's going to get through all that, and if it does, these are pretty cheap fenders, so I can just buy new ones. I don't really care too much, but I think we'll be good with that. And then these are the light bar mounts that I had. They had to be cleaned up. They were starting to get a little bit rusty, especially this one right here. You can see on this side there's a lot of pitting on there, so I did the same rust mort on that, and then we're gonna go with the Pour 15, so I think that'll be pretty good. And then I just did the sway bar too, so we got that all cleaned up and all that ready to get coated. So I'm going to start doing the Pour 15. I'm going to focus on trying to get it in here as best as I can so that we can really get a good seal there. And then tomorrow I'll come back and do a second coat, and we'll flip them over and get everywhere. But for now I really want to focus on where the rust is bad, and everything else that's pretty basic, so I'm only going to do like 1 coat on it because I don't care too much. But should be looking pretty good. All right, and then real quick over here. So I ended up ordering the. So these are the Poison Spyder inner fender liners. Ended up ordering these just because the tube fenders I have are the ones where you got to cut up the old fenders to basically use as the inner fender liner, and they're kind of all hacked up and just rusty, don't really look good. So ordered these. I'm gonna have to kind of make them fit because they're not really made for these ones, but it's looking like I'm really only gonna have to cut probably along there. I'm gonna wait till the fenders are actually on to do all that. All right, so it's the next day here. Let them dry overnight, and definitely looks, 10 times better than what it did. If you look at these where we had all the pitting on the back, whoops, this was the one that was really rusty. You can just see it's just has a really nice finish to it. So these both I'm just gonna sand down real quick, just because you can see there's a lot of dust in these, just kind of because I didn't clean the garage and I had fans blowing to try to air it out. So a lot of dust in it. I don't really care too much because we're gonna sand it. So these will get sanded with probably, I'm gonna go with 150, either 150, 220, and then they're just gonna get bed lined. So they'll kind of look like how they did before, but not rusty. The sway bar and the bushing mount things, I don't know what they're called. Those will all get sanded too, just to get all the dust out. And then I'll probably paint those with just like a gloss black or semi-gloss black. You want to get a finish on the Pour 15. You don't want to just leave it bare because it doesn't have a UV protection in it. So if you just leave it in the sun, this will actually all start to fade and turn like a chalky white. So you got to just get paint on it. But yeah, so they just got to get cleaned up, just get some of the runs out of these, and then we can paint those black. I think it'll look a lot better than what it did. But as far as the fenders go, they look 10 times better. We got a lot of good coverage, kind of really in there where I was really worried about it. And then if you come around to the back of them, they look really good. So these I gotta flip over because we still gotta do the other side of them, and I'd like to get a second coat in all the little areas as best as I can. But these are gonna have to be completely sanded again too before we do that coat, so that the new stuff will stick. But once we do that, I'm pretty confident these will be good to go for the future. I don't really think I'll see rust anytime soon, with just how thick this stuff lays out. And I think I did a pretty good job trying to get rid of most of the rust. But, so we'll see moving forward how it turns out. And then over to the body. So where these fenders mount up, I did it along there just because this area tends to get kind of rusty with stuff getting stuck in there and the fenders and all that. And then all along the body, you can see in little spots, kind of moving around here. So where these fenders, the original ones mounted up, there just would tend to be a lot of little just pitting of rust throughout there where stuff would get stuck behind. So I put the rust mort on all these little spots where I cleaned it up pretty good with the wire wheel. I'm just doing this just for the extra reassurance of it. But so I did the Pour 15 over that, just one coat, just to kind of have a little extra something. And then, like I said, all of this gets bedlined too, everywhere that's not going to be shown. So I think it should all be pretty durable moving forward. So before I finish getting these fenders painted and everything, I wanted to get these inner fender liners kind of fitted up. Because they're the Poison Spyder ones, these aren't Poison Spyder fenders. I kind of had to do sort of a custom fit to them. So you can see right here, I got it notched in there so we can fit it up in there. And then I actually had to cut down to there and underneath, so that we can get a decent fit there. But because I have a body lift, there's just always going to be that gap in there, which kind of sucks. I think it'll even out a little more once I actually have this fender on, so it's not actually up where it needs to be, and the front grill's sitting a little too high. So I think it'll balance it out a little more, but there's still going to be a little bit of a gap there, which, it is what it is. And then I originally planned on painting these black, but I'm actually kind of liking the aluminum. I think it kind of Kind of has a cool look to it. So I'll probably just clean them up pretty good and put a clear coat on them, just to give them some protection. But I think we'll go with the bare aluminum there. But yeah, you can see really cleans up the engine bay a lot too. Just gonna have to do some sort of custom mounting for all the accessory stuff, but shouldn't be too bad. So I'm gonna finish this one up, and then I'll show you guys the other one as I start to do that. Alright, so you can actually see how much I really had to cut out. This was the this is the uncut one. So this whole edge right here kind of had to get notched out, as well as up there, and then the bottom along there to shorten it. And then up front, just kind of notched those right there, and took this off too. So I'm gonna start laying this one out using that one as a template, and we'll see how that looks. Alright, so we got the passenger side in, and fitment's actually really nice on this. Surprising, because I just kind of used the other side as a template. I didn't really test fit it as I cut it, but looks really good. So I'm going to get these fenders back off, and we can do the second layer of Por 15 on them, and then hopefully start putting some primer. Alright, so these are done drying. They're dusty, but they're done. So I'm going to give them a couple of days to really cure, and then we can go back through and actually kind of sand these out. You can see there's just a lot of runs in them and whatnot, and so like a weird little thing going on there. So we'll go through, sand those all down before we bedline. And then I also, you can see right here, I added these two little brackets that kind of shoot through, and the reason for that is, one sec, let me. Alright, so with this fender liner, these two bolt holes that were there were too far forward for the stock mounting holes, so those move it forward so that I can actually send a bolt through there and out here. So the reason I had to do these angle brackets is because this was at the corner of the tube, so it wouldn't actually be able to bolt in right. So just did those so that we can just send a longer bolt through there, and it'll hold these fenders in there nicely. So should be pretty good. Moving on from that, I got the Jeep completely prepped for primer. So we got it all sanded down to about 320. Where the filler primer has to go, and then everywhere else just 220. You know, all these spots that we're not really worried about. So I'm going to get the camera set up, and we'll get all the bare metal self-etched primed, and then we can actually move on to doing a filler primer. And then after that, we'll do the sealer primer, and should be ready to go. So let me get that set up and we can get started. Alright, so that's actually going to do it for this episode. I'm just trying to make these a little shorter. So next episode will be part 2 of this, where we'll get the rest of the body painted and all that, and finish up all the bedliner work on the body armor. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, subscribe. All that would be great, and I'll see you in the next one.